Hey guys, it's Carolyn and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm very excited about our guest to talk about the painting industries and all the cutting changes he's making. Benson Fechter is the founder and CEO of Legacy Paint Holdings, a rapidly growing company that's transforming the fragmented painting industry through strategic acquisitions and operational excellence. A Pittsburgh-based entrepreneur, Benson started his first painting company in 2020 and went on to launch Precision Painting Advisors in 2022, with a vision to unite the best-in-class painting companies under one national brand. Benson now leads a portfolio of high-performing subsidiaries across the country, each retaining its unique identity while benefiting from shared systems, resource, and leadership. Driven by passion for building enduring businesses, Benson brings together blue-collar grit and white-collar strategy. He's known for helping local contractors scale revenue, improve profitability, and ultimately build generational wealth through ownership and equity participation. Wow, that's a lot. Good morning, Benson.
Good
How are
morning,
you?
Carolyn. How are you?
So, before we jump in, tell us a little about yourself and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so sort of always been an entrepreneur from my earliest memories. My grandfather's been an entrepreneur his whole career, and I sort of aspired to that, seeing him being very successful in the contracting space, primarily HVAC, electric, and landscaping. And from 7, 8 years old, I would go and mow lawns, rake leaves, shovel driveways, pretty much do what I could to get that scratch that entrepreneurial itch, and turned into starting several sort of smaller businesses throughout high school. I would make candles and take them to the flea market on the weekends. I would collect baseball cards and sell them, just do little things like that. Ultimately, that led up to my senior year of high school, 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and was granted the gift of an abundance of time.
Yeah.
And had painted a little bit with some church mission trips and things like that in the past. And a friend of mine was landscaping at the time, had some people that needed some painting work done, asked me if I could do it. And thus started my first painting business almost by accident there. My brother and I, we just wanted to paint some houses that summer. I was going off to college, Providence College in Rhode Island that fall, and very, very quickly realized that we're pretty good at marketing and hiring people. Within just a few months later that summer, I was completely off of the brush and simply doing estimates and sort of project managing. Go off to Providence College that fall, meet a lot of great people there. And one guy in particular sort of told the story to, similar entrepreneurial spirit. He was like, well, why don't we do this in Providence? Next summer, you do it in Pittsburgh, I do it in Providence. So we went ahead and did that summer of 2021. He operated a location in Providence. I operated one in Pittsburgh. Did very well doing that. The following summer, we decided to expand even further, recruit some more people. We had locations in Newport, Rhode Island, Hartford, Connecticut, New Orleans, as well as Pittsburgh.
Wow.
So got up to 5 locations, a lot of work, a lot of fun doing it, definitely learned a lot. And what we realized was that, I don't have 20, 30 years of painting experience. And we were winning bids and quotes against painting companies that did have all of that experience. And we tried to figure out and really distill why was that the reason, which is why that fall we started Precision Painting Advisors, which is a consulting firm specifically helping painting contractors differentiate themselves using marketing strategies, hiring strategies, and financial planning. Developed what we came to call the 6 pillars of success, which are number 1, sales and marketing. You need to be able to bring in leads. Once you bring in leads, you need to be able to close them. Pillar number 2 is HR, where once we have the jobs, we can have all the jobs in the world, but if we don't have the people to do them, whether they're in-house W-2s or subcontracting 1099s, we need to figure out how to get the jobs done and keep our standards high the whole while. Pillar number 3 is operations, sort of with the standards. As we grow and scale, how do we keep those standards high? How do we keep the same level of excellence as most painting companies when it's just a few guys working? Pillar number 4 is business systems, making sure that we actually have an accounting system, making sure that we are having a project management tool to track hours and materials and job costing and all the rest there. Pillar number 5 is financial planning. Are we doing budgets and cash flow forecasts and, planning that our van is going to go out, in 3 years, we need to put X amount aside each month to be able to replace that. Just basic financial planning that most painting contractors never do. And then finally, pillar number 6, being accounting, and making sure that we're tax planning properly throughout the year to minimize our tax liability at the end of the year. And through doing all of this, we worked with a little bit over 100 painting contractors, mainly in the US, a little bit in Canada, and actually a few in Australia. And the whole while was sort of being mentored by a few people in the industry that were putting together roll-ups in the HVAC, electric, and landscaping spaces. And through seeing all of this, they sort of suggested, hey, why don't you get into the roll-up space, but do it in the painting industry? Connections are already there. Systems are already in place. It's a very easy transition. So in August of 2024, we started to make that transition from the consulting firm to putting together this roll-up, which we've been putting together now since the fall of 24. We currently have 3 companies in our portfolio that we've completed acquisitions for, another 3 that are under LOI, and we have a goal to get to 10 by the end of 2025 here. So aggressively growing, been quite successful in the sort of early beginnings here, and excited to be on this show with you and explain a little bit more about what we're doing.
Yeah, that's a lot. So what do you mean by fragmented painting industry?
Yeah, so it's a big industry, right? It's $40 billion annual industry. There are, that we know of, 250,000 painting contractors in the space. So we do some simple math. We do the total amount, 40 billion, divided by 250,000. The average painting contractor is only doing about $150,000 annually in revenue. So it's a big, big industry, but a lot of really small players. And it's an industry that hasn't been touched by professional services really, outside of the franchising groups and things of that sort. But I mean, big industry, small players. And that's where we're trying to coalesce the industry a little bit and take, some of that market share. And rather than doing 150,000, see if we can, be doing $1 million.
So then you're acquiring little companies to put under an umbrella company.
Yeah, and they're not little companies. So the companies that we're acquiring, they're doing at least $1 million plus in revenue. So
Okay.
we're going after the bigger companies that are in the space. We have tools and resources available for those smaller companies at no cost. However, for the companies that we want to acquire and bring into our portfolio, we require that $1 million plus in revenue, and we're able to significantly grow upon that. But small in terms of that figure, but not the small players.
Is it mostly residential or commercial or a mix?
It's a mix. I would say most painting companies, it's pretty easy to get into the residential side. You put up a Facebook ad, Craigslist, things of that sort. The commercial side is far more relationally driven, like do you know the builders and the general contractors and all of that. So we have those relationships and those connections built where we do try to transition a good bit of our business into the commercial side, more consistent work, bigger contract values. Profit margins are a little bit less, but I would say overall for our portfolio, we're about 60-40, 60 being residential, 40 being commercial.
Gotcha. And so how does this work when you take over a company? Do you implement your strategies? Do you keep the people? What does that look like operationally?
Yeah. So if there's a painting company that we are interested in and they come into our group, we are a little bit different than some of the other roll-ups that are in the contractor and the larger business space. We acquire outright control of the businesses, so 100% of the businesses. However, we do require that our owners are rolling a significant portion of equity into the new holding company and that they stay on for a period of at least 2 years, essentially as general manager of the business. Largely, we keep all the same sort of leadership people in place and then start to implement our systems from then on. So there's about a sort of 100-day integration plan that we go through where, through in all those 6 pillars, really, we have a punch list that we need to go through and then all the legal stuff as well. But people stay in place and essentially are running their business the same way as they always have. It's just with much, much more support, resources, and back-end help to run everything. We sort of see ourselves as a decentralized national company where all of our brands retain their unique local identity, but all the back-end systems are sort of integrated and communicating with each other across the group.
So would they keep their local name?
Yes, correct. So company in Oklahoma City, Cardinal Painting, they're still Cardinal Painting. Company in Boston, Supreme Painters, they're still Supreme Painters, but they're under the Legacy Paint Holdings umbrella.
Gotcha. And so how does the ownership look like? You said equity from the original owner into the company. Do they remain owners of the company after the 2 years? What does that look like?
Yeah, so let's say we go in just for round numbers, we buy a company for $2 million. We come in, buy a company $2 million. Rather than all of that being cash, as a percentage of that, that's cash versus equity. So let's say, $1 million of that ends up being cash and $1 million of that ends up being equity. That $1 million in equity is then rolled into the holding company. So now they're a shareholder in the overall group.
Gotcha.
And those shares, extend with them, beyond their 2-year term. We can also renew their 2-year term as general manager if they wish to continue running it. But we do require that minimum of 2 years just to help us successfully make that transition in ownership and leadership from when we acquire to when we're fully integrated and now doing things our way.
So how do you teach people to build wealth through blue collar entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way that I like to see it is you have two different mindsets in the industry. You have what I call the contractor mindset and the capitalist mindset. The contractor mindset, and the way that all contractors make money, is they'll go out and they'll bid a job, paint a house, and materials might cost $2,000, and they estimate that labor might be another $3,000. So we're $5,000 all in on costs. They might throw a profit margin on that. Let's say they charge $10,000, $9,500 for the project. And really what they're doing is they're arbitraging day labor, right? They're finding people, at cost materials, putting a little bit of profit on the labor. And that's what I call the contractor mindset, is arbitraging day labor. Whereas the capitalist mindset is taking the cash flow from the business that we are generating and how can we capitalize on that cash flow. And it's really, ultimately we're doing the same thing at the end of the day, but it's the mindset that the person has from going from just really owning a job to owning a business, and then also going from contractor to capitalist. And that's where I see that blue collar generational wealth being able to be created, and has successfully been created across, many different spaces. Just we're sort of the pioneers in the painting space of putting this type of group together.
Okay. So when you're looking at these companies and the companies you helped in the past, is there any similarities on the 6 pillars that they're the weakest on?
I would say the biggest point that we need to improve is our profit margins across the board. So great example, really for us, was looking at our Q4 margins versus Q1, which is really, when we had the 3 companies in the group, the first quarter of big changes that we made. Yeah. And I actually have it on my board here. So our Q4 margins, we were at 23% gross, 8% net. We improved those to 29% gross, 15% net. Wow. Quarter over quarter. Simply by just going into how we are pricing our jobs and making sure that we are actually properly pricing. And the pretty cool thing as we did it is we didn't see any revenue drop, even though we increased our prices. And there's a common misconception in the contractor space that lower prices is going to equal higher closing rate, higher revenue, which is simply a falsehood. Yeah. If you price your jobs properly and you present them properly with a good sales process, pricing it that way is going to attract better, higher paying clients, and B, clients that are not going to be shopping simply based on price, but rather based on value. And shifting that mindset with our companies was hugely important, and we were able to significantly add revenue while increasing our margins, simply by reworking the way that we're pricing and reworking the way that we are going about our sales process.
Wow. That's a huge jump in just a quarter.
Yeah. It was simply just from day one, we're changing the way that we're doing pricing, and we're going to move forward with that. From then on out, we still have goals to get that up. We want our gross to be closer to 40%, net closer to 25%, but we're definitely on the path to getting closer to that figure.
Wow. And so, okay, so then how do you get the good people and how do they stay?
For the clients or for
your businesses? You said that for like the second pillar for HR.
Yeah, for HR, which is, it's always a balancing act really between sales and marketing and HR, because you want to have the leads, and leads need to be there, the jobs need to be there, and you need to have the people, and it needs to be properly balanced, right? We can't have too many jobs and too little people, or else we're going to be booked out 6 months in advance. And we also can't have too many people and too few jobs, or else they're just not going to have enough hours. So the way that we have it pretty much planned out is that we push as hard as we can on the sales and marketing end until we get about $100,000 booked out.
Gotcha.
Once we're $100,000 booked out, we then bring people on, get another $100,000 booked out with those new people, and restart the process from there. Now, in terms of the people that we bring on, pretty unique in that we have the ability as a holding company to provide benefits that most painting contractors wouldn't be able to provide. Think health insurance, retirement plans, and even equity sharing. For all of our painters that work for us, they receive equity in the holding company.
Really?
So they go from, just being a regular painter that is, working for a painting company to now being a shareholder in a national organization that is growing and growing quickly. And we really try to, do what other painting companies aren't doing. Paying higher, more benefits, equity participation. People will stay if you treat them well. And that's, our motto, from day one when we bring people.
What does the equity participation look like? Did they get it automatically? Do they earn it? Do they earn more over time?
So it's an equity tracking right, really, is what it is. So as long as they are with the company, whenever dividends are issued or in the future, if there's a liquidation event, they'll be able to participate in those two things. It's a little bit different than, for more of our upper level management within our companies, where sort of standard vesting schedule that comes with their equity participation. But it's important for us, for all of our painters to be able to participate in that. And we've seen our turnover rates decrease dramatically from there. Typical turnover rate in the industry is north of 50%. Our turnover rate since we've come on board is now sub 10%. So, very, very important for us to keep that continuity as well, because if you don't have continuity, that is where quality begins to suffer. If we have to constantly be bringing in new painters, constantly be training them, it really does put a strain on trying to grow and scale without the right people in place.
Well, it's definitely bringing back a way that you can make money in the trades and don't have to be an owner. You can actually be skilled and make the kind of money you deserve to make.
No, exactly. And our average painter, we pay $27.50 an hour.
Wow.
So we're paying them a good livable wage on top of the benefits that they receive. And we're able to beat, pretty much the competition in terms of that. And that's why, when we're looking at our hiring right now, it's honestly, we have across our portfolio more people that are looking to come on board than we even have room for, which is a pretty good position.
That's a good problem to have, especially in the construction industry. What does your training and onboarding look like, or onboarding and training, I should say?
Yeah. So what we do is we sort of have like a 90-day initial period where our goal during those first 90 days for our painters is really two things. We want them to be integrated into doing things the way that we do them as a company. So from the prep to the painting to the cleanup, all of that they sort of follow our standard operating procedures. And our crew leads do a very good job of training on those, combined with our general manager. And from there, the other big thing that we value highly is the cultural fit as well. You have guys working together, and we try to keep them in crews and consistent throughout the year. It's important that the guys like each other, that they get along, that it's not a drag when they're on the job site. And we try to accomplish those two goals within the first 90 days. So by the end of someone's 90 days, we do a little, you're fully on the team now, a little party. All of their benefits will then start to kick in terms of the initial sort of onboarding period. And it's important for us that those two things are in place so that we can confidently move forward with somebody.
Gotcha. So are you still doing the consulting work? Or are you completely in the roll-up business now?
Yeah. So I initially was planning, okay, I'll do a little bit of consulting, a little bit of this, but seeing the momentum that we've generated on this side of it, I've moved full time with the roll-up group, and it's really what's required for our companies on the ground, for all of our shareholders. Very pleased doing it as well. The consulting industry versus this industry is a lot of similarities, but in terms of a lot of the day-to-day, it's night and day difference. So like with the consulting, at any given time, I'd have to worry about 50 different companies, right? And sort of managing that, my calendar and meetings and everything. Whereas now we have 3 companies in the group, 3 we're looking to close this quarter. I can spend all of my time, energy, and attention on those core companies versus spreading myself thin. And we did a great job with the consulting. I'm not knocking that at all. It's just that, I only have so much time in a day and need to dedicate that towards the group that we're putting together.
So when you're looking at a company you're thinking about acquiring, what are you looking for?
Yeah, a few things. So it goes beyond even that revenue metric that I brought up initially. Obviously, we're sort of setting a baseline of $1 million a year. Any company that's smaller than that, it's just a lot of effort to be able to get them, up above that. Once they're at the $1 million mark, they typically have a good solid crew in place. They have management in place. A pretty legitimate company that we can come in and quickly take to 2, 3, 4, $5 million within a few years. So that's thing number one. Thing number two is we're really looking for the right leadership team in place on the ground. So I'll tell you what I don't want. I don't want the 65-year-old painter that is looking to retire in a year and a half, in 2 years, and is seeing this as a springboard towards retirement.
Gotcha.
What we're looking for and we're very particular about is that they really need to be 50 years or younger. They really need to be ambitious. They need to want to grow. And as of right now, I mean, with our group, our company in Boston, which was our first acquisition, Supreme Painters, leadership team there on the ground, we have a guy that's 38 and a guy that's 32. They've ran a very successful business, and that's the avatar that we want. Company in Ann Arbor that we're about to close on, guy is 27 years old that is running that business. Company in Michigan, guy's 34 years old that's running it. We're looking to put together, a group that is young, eager, ambitious to grow, and that is very important to us because there's a lot of, in the painting space, we talked about how fragmented it is, and a lot of small contractors, and the reality is a good bit of those small contractors are comfortable being small, and a lot of them are the solo painters that enjoy painting, that want to be self-employed, that don't mind not having a big business, just want to make enough money to be able to support their family and themselves. So, we need the contractor that is eager to grow and is eager for more than just simply being where they're at, because that's where a lot of the industry is, and that's why the average company only does about 150,000 in revenue.
So once they're under your umbrella, do you have like group management meetings with all of the different companies? What does the involvement in the holding company look like?
Yeah, so it's very important for us that as a company, we all win together, right? If we're going to accomplish what we want to accomplish in terms of growing to the scale we want to grow to in a potential liquidation event, it is going to be because we are all marching to the beat of the same drum. So for us, we have weekly leadership calls where all of the leaders of each company, Tuesday afternoons, we get together, essentially go over where we're at right now, how the last week was, and looking forward to the next week. Announcements, things of that sort. We also do weekly one-on-ones with myself and the leadership team on the ground. And then something else that we do, which is pretty cool, is for all of our employees in the overall company, we provide continuing business education so that if you're a painter and you want to become an estimator, a salesperson, project manager, then we're going to train you and educate you and give you the tools and resources that you need to do that, whether that's with us or eventually with some other company. And we do those Friday afternoons, sort of after the week is ended. And then on a quarterly basis, we do a little sort of weekend training thing where we all virtual and bring people in. Something else that we're implementing that pretty excited about, Memorial Day weekend, we're bringing in all the leadership from our companies into Pittsburgh for sort of our annual meeting that we're going to be having, which will be nice to have. I've obviously worked extensively with these people in person, but they haven't met each other, worked with each other in person. So eager for that. And then we have group chats and things of that sort where people are helping each other out. And it's really pretty cool because, typically, I mean, entrepreneurship it's a lonely journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it's largely just you and the buck stops with you. Whereas the group we're putting together now, there's no competition between an Oklahoma City company and a Boston company, right? We're on the same team. So if there's something going on in Oklahoma City and they want to ask the group, they'll put it in our group chat, hey, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. And all of a sudden there'll be a lot of support, for that problem that they're having. And it's really cool to be able to build that group and to have that camaraderie that otherwise just really isn't available for most entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And you're all pulling towards the same goal. The better each company does, the better everybody does.
Right. It's the idea that we all win together.
So how have the transitions been when you come and take over?
Yeah, I mean, there's always some kinks to iron out whenever there's a transition being made. Funny enough, I thought this would be the easiest part of the transition, but switching project management softwares has actually proven to be a lot more difficult than I would have initially imagined. So the system that we use is a project management platform called Notify. Really cool platform. All the job cost integration, clock in, clock out, estimates, invoicing, all of that's built in. We really love it. It syncs wonderfully to our accounting software so that we get all that information pushed over. But we found that I mean, for whatever reason in the space, guys aren't that technologically savvy. So being able to transition them into the Notify platform has been a bit more of a challenge than we thought it would be. Luckily, all of our companies have moved, and we're working out sort of that transition and that change. And then also the difficulty of, like, our company in Boston, for example, majority Hispanic workers that work for us. So language barrier there, three different languages: English, Spanish, and Brazilian Portuguese.
Wow.
I only speak English, so I have to rely on our guys on the ground there to be able to effectively translate messages to the guys on the ground there. So that has proven to be a bit of a challenge, but all, I would say, very enjoyable things to work through. But I was definitely a bit surprised about the pushback that was received with the project management switch.
Software, yeah. Because it's changing their day-to-day operations.
Right. I mean, it's the number one used thing day to day, and you get used to one thing and you like it. It can be difficult to then switch that. But of course, on the back end, we can't have 6 companies using 6 different systems. We have to have everybody using the same system.
Same system, yeah. Operationally, how are the companies you're taking over set up? Do they have operations? Do they not have them? Are you implementing new ones?
In terms of like the back end systems?
Yeah, like the business operations.
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, all of them have some sort of project management tool that they're using. They're typically not using it to its full potential. So the big thing for us is job costing, right? We need to know on every single job what margins we are making. And what that helps us inform is better pricing information, right? Because it all comes down to production rates, really, and how fast we can get a job done, which is going to be able to say, okay, if we pay a painter $27.50 an hour, that costs us $275 over the course of a day, and for 4 people, that's going to cost us. And then be able to price it properly and realizing, okay, we underestimated this job, or we overestimated and end up making more than that 40% goal that we have. So that is very important for us. And I would say, and the 3 companies we have right now, none of them were doing it before. They all have project management tools, but weren't job costing, which is why we saw such a big jump, Q4 to Q1.
Yeah.
The other big thing too is accounting and just day-to-day bookkeeping. We, very important for us from the first day that we get in, we get them with our bookkeeper and get them using our books. So charts of accounts are the same across the board, so that there's not, I mean, even with 3 different bookkeepers, for example, bookkeepers go at different paces, right?
Yep.
So one might be a week behind, the other might be a month behind, the other might be 2 weeks behind. With our system, our bookkeeper goes in once a week, updates all the books, so that we know at any given point where all of our companies stand. We can look at P&Ls for all the companies, and then collectively, without having to wonder who's so far behind. And so that was a big thing. And even most of our companies with the bookkeeping, they were averaging about a 6-week lag time between when transactions were being recorded to when they were being accounted for, so that we can look at a P&L and see what's going on. So very important for us each Monday to go into the P&Ls, look where we're at, and track things that are important to us. Labor percentage is by far and away the biggest stat that we look at in terms of what is labor costing us as a percentage of our revenue. In order to be hitting the margins that we need to be hitting, that number can't be above 45%.
Gotcha.
If that's above 45%, that means that we're not being efficient. We can immediately hop on those things. So putting KPIs together like that in sort of a dashboard form where we can see, those metrics that mean there's a red flag that we need to solve on a weekly basis, really helps solve issues versus looking at it 6 months down the road and wondering what happened.
So how often are you going back and looking at your jobs from a job costing perspective?
Yeah, so Mondays are our big sort of look back at the previous week and anticipation for our Tuesday leadership call that we have. So
Gotcha.
each Tuesday we go over, here's where we were collectively, here's where we're at for our quarterly goals right now, for our yearly goals and everything. And, specifically labor percentage, things like that. We do it collectively as a group. And then in our individual meetings, we go through, here's what we're going to work on to improve that in the week ahead. So, it's a simple job costing report where at the end of each week, come in Monday morning, have the report on my desk, be able to go through and see, okay, we're 42% on this one, 37%, 26%, whatever they might be, and try to figure out pretty quickly why we're either not meeting our mark or that we are either meeting or exceeding.
Wow, that's a lot.
Oh, it's exciting. I like doing it.
I know it's loving put the pieces of the puzzle together for an entrepreneur. It's amazing.
Yeah. And really provides that support that, everybody sort of has a hunch as to where they're at. And typically that hunch is relatively accurate.
Yeah.
But if that hunch isn't backed up and informed by data and numbers that can then inform our future decisions, it's not going to be much more than just the instinct that they have. And it's really helpful to provide that to the guys on the ground where, the painting industry, they typically don't have any formalized business education received. And they're really great at running the painting companies. And we're really great at running the back end of the business. So, combining those two forces together is what really allows us to succeed and see the quick turnarounds that we've seen with the companies we've run it.
No, absolutely. People get into the business because they like what they do and they want to do it better than everybody else did. But very quickly, they stop doing the thing that they were started to do.
Yeah.
And have to be good at business, which is a whole nother ballgame.
Completely different. I mean, you're not a painting contractor getting into the business because you love looking at spreadsheets and P&Ls and job costing reports.
Exactly.
Right? You're good at painting. You like hiring guys. You like working with your hands outside. Great. But now we can come in and take over that side of it and do, an A+ job there while you do an A+ job in the field.
That's pretty amazing. It's a great idea to help these guys grow and scale, and especially all collectively.
Exactly.
So if they wanted learn more about Legacy Painting or you, where would they go?
Yeah. So website is a great resource, legacypaintholdings.com. If you are a painting contractor that sort of fits the criteria that we talked about, sort of that $1 million plus, 50 years or younger, eager, ambitious to grow, little form at the bottom of the website that you can fill out and set up a meeting with a member of our team. Also very active, myself, Benson Fechter, on LinkedIn, Facebook. You can follow me there. And we have a ton of free resources on our website as well. So if you're a painting contractor that might not be at that $1 million mark yet, our goal is to put enough free information out there that you get to that point, and then we can have a conversation about you joining our group. So definitely feel free to check out the website. Our vast resources are available to you there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time being on the show.
Yeah. Thank you, Carolyn.